Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Money Level Show, where we think, act, and prosper. And today, I got a special guest on the channel. I've been watching his stuff for a while, watching a lot of his knowledge and just everything that he brings to the table about what is going on in the economy, what is going on in the precious metals industry, and everything. So I want to welcome today David Morgan of the Morgan Report. How you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, for sure. It's good to. I've been telling a few of the people that I've been interviewing, just like, hey, sometimes it's hard to get some of your famous guys on my channel, but I'm glad that you weren't on the high and mighty horse and you decided to come on here, and I appreciate that. I'm sure the audience appreciates that as well.
Well, the message is strong as far as I'm concerned, and I think everyone ought to have a chance to hear it. So I've flown to distant spots and spoke before 4 people before. In fact, I think one time in Toronto, there were only 2 people in the audience. And, I'd like to have seen more, but, it is what it is, Daryl, and you just go with it. And I'm happy to just about any time I've been asked to speak or do an interview, I pretty much have said yes. There's been a few times I haven't, and it hasn't been because of who was asking for the interview. At least I can't think of that. It was more double booked or on a flight or, family emergency or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I'm actually a music artist too. So I know the feeling of doing the show and you got 5 people in the crowd. And I remember a friend of mine, he actually, he used to rap with Sir Mix-a-Lot. And he said one time they had a show and it snowed. And I don't know if you're in Washington too, but I'm over here in Western Washington. But it snowed and they had Run DMC come out. It was only 5 people that showed up to the show. Run DMC rocked it like it was a crowd full of people.
Standing room only. Yeah, that's I shout out to him or them. It's the whole band, but yeah, I get it. I think people that are real everywhere, regardless of what the external is, right? If you follow what I'm saying, exactly. If you're really strong about yourself, you're carrying that if there's one person in the audience or standing room only.
Yeah, that is true. So Dave, could you share a little bit about your background and how did you get into buying precious metals? What's the backstory behind that?
Yeah, I've told it many times, but there's always new audience. I was 11 years old when the coins changed from 90% silver to Johnson slugs. And that kind of piqued my curiosity. As time went on, I learned more and more about how the monetary system works. Most of it was self-study. I started reading newsletters like mine way back when I was in my late teens, early 20s. And just kept learning and learning. The more I learned, the more upset I became about what happens in these situations. It's basically a fraud. The idea that you can get something for nothing is how the system works. They print money basically at no cost, and they loan it out at interest, and we have to work for it, and we have to work to pay off the interest. So made it my life's mission, really, to take a stand and educate people and point them toward the precious metals. I'm not a precious metals dealer. In some cases, I can certainly help people that, want to be connected with a dealer I know and trust and that type of thing. But that's not my business. My business is education. I write a financial newsletter. I've been doing it for about 23 years. Focuses on the macro picture, the big economy, the world global picture. And then I take it down into, everyday type of things, what affects the everyday person, and then move into the way to leverage your precious metals investing after you have real coins is to go into the mining equities. And that's what I specialize in.
Okay, nice. Yeah, that's important because I was recently doing a podcast interview on another channel, on my sister's channel. And we talked about a lot of this stuff and the macro picture of just like fiat currencies and every single fiat currency ever created failing. Like, a lot of people don't know that, especially in our country, in the African American community. A lot of people think that dollar's here to stay forever, and that's important that you're doing that education.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll just add on to that a bit, Daryl. I mean, I had a guy from Australia that was pretty close to the banking industry, and he believed everything I said except one thing: the dollar would fail. So, oh, come on, David, do you really think the dollar's going to fail? I go, well, it depends how you even measure it. If you measure the 1913 dollar, the Federal Reserve itself that created it will tell you it's worth 2 cents. I mean, if you had your nephew come home with a 100-point quiz and he got 2 out of 100, I think you tell him it was a failure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's great to hear that, because it's definitely something that I never was aware of, and I just got into this kind of space about a year ago when COVID hit. I picked up the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. Then I traveled down Robert Kiyosaki's channel, started seeing people talk about gold and silver, and that just really got me into this. And then learning about the history of fiat currencies and things like that, that was what really impacted and shaped my view. So I'm trying to help bring that education here at the Money Level Show. So I appreciate you bringing that. So there's been a few times I've heard you talk on a few different interviews about the food shortages that are going on. There are concerns about inflation. We've definitely seen some pockets of inflation with lumber cost or shipping containers, food, and all these other different things that are going up in price, especially assets. So what's your thoughts on this environment, especially with like the food shortages and around inflation?
Well, during either an inflationary depression or a debt liquidating or deflationary depression, basically they're the same. In one case, the currency was worth more. In the other case, the currency is worth less. But the outcome is basically the same, which is high unemployment, depression in the general populace, meaning that they're not really optimistic about tomorrow. Difficulty in the basic necessities, food, shelter. Doesn't mean shelter isn't there. It's the ability to pay your rent or, keep paying your mortgage. A lot of disruptions, and the main things, so take a top level down view. It goes from stuff we don't need to stuff we need. And what does that mean in the financial world? It means stocks and bonds are paper assets that might have value in your mind, in your bank account, in your, on your screen when you take out your calculator and see how many zeros are behind your first digit. But that's not nearly as important as the physical economy, which is your lumber, your cotton, your food, your precious metals, because they are money. And in times of inflation or deflation, especially gold more than silver, but either case, become more and more valuable, meaning they buy more and more lumber, rent, food, and the things that you need. So we're making this huge shift from the stock market's king and new highs every day, and the bond market's been the best market it could be in for 40 years, and on and on. Nothing goes forever, and they're ending. Yeah, I know the stock market made a new high in the NASDAQ like 3 days ago. I know that. I'm pretty well studied. That's not my point. My point is it's hard to pick an exact top, but it's pretty not easy. But if you are objective, you can see pretty much when it's going to start shifting to the other direction, and we are. And so I just would acknowledge the fact that everyone listening to your show look at where they're at, what they need and what they don't need. And if they feel the crunch coming for them personally, take a look. If you have 3 bicycles and you only need 1, sell them. Get some extra food, whatever. And I'm all about people being happy, joyous, and free. Believe me, that would be like, if I had a magic wand, I want everybody on the planet. But that's not a reality. But if we live within our means, there is a lot less stress in your life. When you've got that big car payment and you've got 2 cars, and it'd be a hassle to have one because you've got to take the old lady to work, or she's got to take the old man to work, or however it goes. Yeah, but you know what? When you're not making that $500 a month payment and you don't have to make it anymore, that relieves a lot of stress.
Yeah, I agree. And especially with our nation being more of a consumer nation as well. We consume more than we produce. And that's very vital in this situation, is that we are consuming way too much, And, when a crisis happens, such as the dollar collapsing or in hyperinflation, inflation, or whatever, a lot of these things that we think that we need are going to disappear out the window. These things are going to become less valuable. And so that's why I try to educate people on like being outside of the financial system with precious metals and cryptocurrencies, but, also being able to, play a little bit of the paper market. If you're able to make some money there on some mining stocks, I mean, that's fine, but you got to have the physical in your hand.
Yeah, no, that's what I teach. I mean, that's, again, I'm not a bullion dealer, but I really don't want anyone paying me to read the Morgan report if, they don't have real metal in their hands. And I understand a lot of people can't do that right now, and I get that. So if that's your situation, one, get my free newsletter. You're getting a lot of valuable information. You're not getting any stock picks, which you're not going to be invested in stocks anyway. So you kind of get let's say the meat on the bone, and then for free. And then if you do have extra money, basically I'd say, save some fiat. It still works, but get some extra food, or look at your food budget. If you're eating out, and, look, I admit it, I do the fast food thing sometimes. I'm a big hamburger guy, but what? You can do a lot better job at home for about a third the cost in most cases.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I'm not trying to preach. I'm not trying to lecture. I'm just trying to state reality to everybody and give them some thinking. And, if someone hear me the first time, knows my passion, or feels my passion, I should say, Scott, I really like that guy. I should go get some silver. Well, wait a minute. Before you go get some silver, just check your budget, check your household, check what your needs are. And it may not be silver, the first thing. It may be paying off that credit card, or, taking a step back and securing a more of a stress-free life. I see so many people out there, and it hurts my heart that they're hurting because, one, they didn't have a lot of control of the situation they're in. But two, and I'll blame them, I'll blame myself, they're not really looking at what they can do to solve their own problem. Again, I go back to the 2 cars instead of 1, or maybe walking to work, or bicycling to work once, or not eating out as much, or getting off the Netflix subscription, or whatever. I'm not trying to change anybody, but I'm trying to help. And the help can be just a few things here and there, can make a difference. If you're on the edge, a couple $100 a month difference can make a whole bunch of difference between, fighting with the old man or fighting with the old lady, because, there's more bill than there is dollars at the end of the month, when a few changes can help. But now I know there are people that probably have done that and still are having an issue. And that I really don't have any advice other than you're not alone. And money doesn't make the world go round, although it sounds like it. Energy is the most important resource, but really people are what's important.
Yeah, exactly. And that's part of survival, having, your community, generators, food, things like that, precious metals. And that's just a key part of survival, especially after seeing the whole thing in Texas, and just how many people weren't prepared to endure that. So one thing that, I've kind of seen, like, especially lately, the stimulus rolling out and stuff. I remember I went to the mall to pick my son up, and the mall was packed. Like, it was no parking spot. There's usually some open parking for me to, like, okay, let me get in this spot, do the drop off or whatnot. But the mall was packed, and this was right when those stimulus checks were dropping and everything. And so, I think that, if people, don't spend money on consumer, consumer goods that are not going to hold value, and spend, $30, $35 on an ounce of silver or whatever, you'll be in a good position to at least start towards that preparation.
Yeah, I agree. It's the best way to save, really. If you're going to if you have the ability to save money and you're pretty comfortable with your, what your bills are on a monthly basis, certainly save some in precious metals. I can't hit that hard enough, because we're at the end of this great currency inflation. It's not going to last a whole lot longer, maybe a few more years. I don't think it's going to go another decade. I really doubt it. I don't think it's going another 5 years. So silver is undervalued. And if you look in high inflationary environments like we're experiencing right now in Venezuela or Turkey lost, I think it was 15% of their value of their currency in 13 days. So wow. Is that coming to America? Yes. Is it coming at that strong a rate? Probably not. But if you see food prices, let's say, go up 30 or 40% in 3 months or so, and some foodstuffs have, that you can't get that kind of return in a bank. So just as a corny example, that big jar of peanut butter or that case of tuna fish or whatever that you bought 3 months ago is now 30% higher. I don't know if those two are, but some foods are, that you'd be pretty smart buying that. And of course, saving in silver usually catches up as things become more apparent to the general public. The general populace realizes, oh my goodness, these food prices are just going to keep going up. That's when more people start saying, you know what, I got $1,000 saved for a rainy day. I'm going to take half of it or whatever, put it into silver, because I know that I don't really know what food I want to buy right now, but I know that silver is going to buy me at least as much as it will today, tomorrow, a month, 2 months, in a year or so. It may buy me 3 times or 4 times as much.
Yeah, definitely. So what's the current state of the silver market? We had the Wall Street bets come out and try to squeeze, and things like that. What's the current state of it? Like right now, I've been seeing the premiums really high. So what's your thoughts on that?
Well, it's under stress. There's a lot of demand, especially on the retail side, that cannot be met with normal premiums. So the premiums have gone sky high. Should you buy it with the sky high premium? I'll leave that up to you. So I would say yes for some. If you're gonna, you don't want to put your life savings in when it's a high premium like this. But if you don't have any, you might consider getting some. Are the premiums going to come back down to normal or not? I don't know. I was very strong in 2008 during the initial financial crisis. The premiums would come back to normal, and they did. This time, I'm not as sure, Daryl, because there's so much stress in the economy, in the financial system, in the bond market, the stock market, and the Joe Biden. And I'm apolitical. I hate all politicians equally, just for the record. Okay, so but still, with the stimulus of almost $2 trillion and $3 trillion proposed to go to infrastructure. I mean, you start spending $5 trillion at a time, it's going to really hurt the pocketbooks of every average, American. So take all that into account. It's not the end of the world. We're getting close to it, but no, just take an inventory of what you've got. And I would say, adjust. People are amazing. And no matter what color or stripe or whatever, humanity is really good at adjusting and adapting to almost anything. So you can be, hot weather, cold weather, a lot of food. Of course, you can't eat no food and survive. I know that. But the point is, we're stronger than we think. Stress does usually help build character. And you said it first, Daryl, I'm going to compliment you for it, because it's a community. I mean, a friend is priceless. I mean, if silver goes where I think it's going to go, you make like 10 times on your money or 10 times in value. But that's an object. That's a barter item. It's real money. It's whatever you want to call it. I call it real money. But a friend is going to help you out. That's priceless, and we need communities that are going to help each other. And we've lost that. There's some, but they're, generally speaking, you go back into my early, time and your age. I mean, the communities were kind of taken for granted. Everyone knew their neighbors. We'd share stuff, you'd watch the kid without charging a babysitting fee and, all that kind of stuff. We've lost it. We've lost it because we're buried in the iPhone, and I don't want to blame anybody, but our culture has changed. There's nothing to point at. Well, I could maybe point at something. I won't, but you get my drift, I think. You probably want to make a comment. I'm not sure.
No, you good. That's good to hear. Community, because for me, like, I think of my family, like, I've been educating them on, the value of precious metals and being out of the financial system. Some of them have chosen to act, some of them not. And I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to keep buying more, because there may be a situation where I have to help out a family member, and so I just kind of have that in my mentality and in the back of my head. So in the history of silver, I don't know if you ever seen a documentary. It was The Secret of Oz. It was pretty good documentary.
Yeah, like 3 times. Yeah.
Yeah. So the silver was the working class people's money, and I seen that it was like some fights to try to get silver as a monetary metal and all these different things. What's your thoughts on kind of that history? Like, because my channel reaches a lot of the working class people, and silver has that history of being the working class people's money.
Yeah, well, if you go back even further, I wrote a book called The Silver Manifesto with Chris Marchese, and we go trace silver back. I mean, I've written articles. One of the first ones I wrote for the public was, is silver money, question mark. You know, first money mentioned in the Bible, silver, not gold. Silver's been used as money more places, more times, and for far more transactions in the history of the world than gold ever has. Silver is the money of the people, and gold is basically nation state to nation state. France pays off America, America pays off Great Britain. Certainly you can use gold in payment. I'm not saying you can't. So in the change in 1873 called the crime of 1873, where silver was demonetized for 5 years, it basically couldn't be used as money. What took place was the Eastern establishment banking class wanted to eliminate silver and make it gold only. They owned the gold and they were making the rules, and the rules were silver bad, gold good. And silver's the word silver and the word money is synonymous in like 14 languages. You know, I've been told by people in my field, people that I share the speaking platform with, you know, I'll lecture and then they'll lecture before, after me. And they say, well, silver's just an industrial metal. It's not money. Well, that's pretty hard to tell somebody in Argentina or Mexico or most of the Spanish speaking community, because the word silver is money. So like me telling you, Daryl, see this money here, it's not money because this is money, but that's, you wouldn't know what the hell I was talking about. But yet these people have the audacity to say it's not money. Now, it is an industrial metal as well as money, but its status as money I don't think will ever go away. And it's legally money. I mean, I can take, you know, one of these things, a silver dollar, that's worth about 28, 30 in fiat. And say, oh, wait a minute, David, that's 30 in fiat, and an ounce of silver is 30 in fiat. I think a silver dollar is more valuable. It's kind of rare. And Daryl, you're right, but a dollar is actually about 3/4 of an ounce. The new dollar, the new treasury dollar, is 1 ounce. Even the treasury doesn't know what a dollar is. A dollar is a weight, 371.2 fine grains of 999 fine silver, defined by the Coinage Act of 1792. But I'll get off my high horse. We're going to see silver come back as money. It already is, through probably the blockchain. And we will see people that prefer to be paid in real money rather than in fiat. And if we are able to really get, you know, some of these cryptos going where they're free of interference, which worries me somewhat. And then I think we have the power to take the position of where the people control the money, we have the power, rather than the bankers controlling the money and they have power over us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a very important topic I've talked about. You know, bankers having that control over money, and money historically was, you know, you and I dealing in a transaction together, and what we determined what was money or what was valuable. You know, and then we did have a lot of bankers come in and take control over that. When silver takes off, do you feel like it'll ever come back? You know, there's times where we seen recently when gold went on this run, silver went on the run as well, and they kind of came back to their, you know, pre-levels, pre-COVID levels or whatnot, or a little bit after COVID or whatnot. But if silver goes off, you know, say it takes off, you know, we have inflation and stuff like that. Do you think that it'll ever come back down to these levels?
I'm not sure it'll come back down to these levels. It might go lower before we really take off, but all markets tend to overshoot, and there's nothing more emotional than the worry or the panic that the US dollar is going to be worth absolute zero. It won't. The dollar won't go to absolute zero. A new monetary system will be established before that happens. But the idea that it's getting there and it's getting there quickly certainly could take place, and I think it will at some point. And again, I think that some point isn't that far off, probably in the next few years. So what happens is there's panic buying and it overshoots. So let's just I've used this example before, but I think it's a really good one to illustrate the point. Most people that start to learn about precious metals hear very early on that the gold is a constant, that a gold ounce will buy a fine men's suit in the Roman Empire, a fine men's suit in the late 1880s, and a fine men's suit today. And really, if you go a step further, it's a suit, shoes, umbrella, that's so. But the fine suit is what
top hat. You gotta throw a top hat.
Yeah, top. There we go. Thank you.
And a cane. You gotta throw a cane in there.
Okay, I'm with you. Okay, and that's about it. So, if an ounce of gold buys you a Men's Warehouse, I think you can easily see that it's overvalued. And gold does get overvalued at times, and so does silver. So you don't want to really measure it in, it's worth 5,000 pieces of paper an ounce or 10,000 pieces of paper an ounce, which is a measurement. And we're all brainwashed to think that that means something because we all believe that these pieces of paper have value. And in a way, they do right now. But it takes more and more of them to buy the same ounce of gold. Gold hasn't changed. It's a constant. So what's changed? The value of the paper. That's what's changed. So my point being, Daryl, very simple. Look at what that ounce of gold or that ounce of silver buys you relative to its historic value. And if it buys you 10 men's suit instead of one, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out gold is overvalued. The median is one suit. It's going to buy 10 suits. Hey, it's time to trade this gold for land, pay off my house, get that second car back for my wife. She's tired of driving one car, whatever it is. That's the time to cash out.
So Dave, do you have a silver prediction? I know some people do predictions and some people don't. Like for me, I just look at the macro picture. I don't get into the technicals or levels or charts and stuff like that of the metals. I kind of just see it as being just more value than what the price is right now. So do you have a prediction for silver?
Well, I do. I did way back when, and after a few years of starting my website, and at that time I wrote a book, Get the Skinny on Silver Investing. And in that book, I said I saw $100 an ounce, and I stand by that. I think we're going to at least that level. I do think we'll see triple-digit silver, which means it's not going to be $50 an ounce at the high or 60 or 70. It's going to be 100, 120, 220. I don't know. I don't like to make outlandish predictions because before you get to $100 an ounce, it's got to get to 50 again. And it's got to get through it. And it stopped off at 50 in 1980 and a little below that in 2011. It may get there in 2022 and stall out and fall back and go from 50 to 40. And everyone see that? I told you silver isn't worth anything. A double from 25 when Daryl and David talked. And, so double, big deal. Look at what Tesla did, or whatever.
Yeah.
And then it'll hit 40 and zoom out, and it'll go through 50 and hit 60 and 75 and 80 and 95. It'll happen so fast, people will wonder what the hell happened. And then they'll start moving into the market, and they'll be happy to buy it at 95 when they ignored it when it hit that 40 low or whatever. So that's how markets move. Is it going to do exactly what I outlined? No. I'm just giving you the idea, but there's no fever like gold fever. When people fear what their dollars will buy and they move into something they trust like gold, there is nothing that's ever taken as much momentum and as much move of emotional buying that you see in the gold market. And if you take Beanie Babies or Pet Rocks or, I don't know, all the stuff, Daryl, you're younger and, more vibrant probably than I am, but you've seen other things that were like the big thing. Well, the iPhone, man, standing out in front of that's just nothing compared to what happens when people fear what their money's going to be worth and they move into gold. I mean, that's nothing like watching the iPhone release. People will panic buy. And that's only going to be, with the internet, maybe 10% of the population, probably more like 5%. There's a lot of people with, grandma and her daughter drove by an Apple store and saw that big long line waiting out at, midnight. Grandma said, what are those people doing? She didn't have a clue. Well, that's going to be most people when the run to gold starts, but they'll learn, they'll see it, they'll understand it. And with the internet, it may be more than 5 or 10%, but everyone will remember after the great run to gold, why it happened and why it's important to have some precious metals.
Mm-hmm. What were you involved in the gold market in the 70s, 80s?
Absolutely. Yeah, like we started your show. I was 11 years old when the currency changed from 90% silver to Johnson slugs, and in August 15th, 1971, Nixon called a gold window. Not that you could own gold as an American, you couldn't. It was outlawed. So I bought one of these, when I was like 12, 13. I started buying silver dollars at a very early age, and it was more than $1 because it was silver value plus a coin value. But I don't want to lie, Daryl, I can't even remember, but it probably like 5 or 6 fiats would buy you a silver dollar back when I was a 13-year-old kid. And of course, now they're 28 or 9 or they're probably 31 or 2. I haven't checked the price on them. I don't buy them that often because you get more silver per fiat if you buy, a slab of silver. But I love to show these off. Like if I ever meet you face to face, I'll probably just give you one, because that way you can teach your friends, your kids, if you have them or whatever, and say, that's $1. You used to work all day for that. So, what's today's wages at $15 an hour over in Seattle? So yep. It's 40, 120, 125 a day. So that 3/4 of an ounce would be the equivalent of a day's labor. Average person, 125. So that says that should be 125. But remember, that's 3/4 of an ounce. So you should really up it by another 20% or so. So add another, let's say $25. So that today, in today's, what is a day's labor worth, should be about $150.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. And so since you mentioned that, I'm actually coming up on 500 subscribers, everyone. So you're watching the Silver Guru on the channel. I'm going to be giving away an ounce of silver. So once I reach that 500 mark, so be sure to drop a comment in the section below. You have to comment the Morgan Report in order to enter for this drawing for a free ounce of silver. So I just wanted to throw that out there as well.
Daryl, let me match it. I will send 2 of these half ounces. So 2 of those will be 1 ounce. Those are coins that I had minted from a mint master friend of mine when silver bottomed in 2008 during the financial crisis, about $9 an ounce. The silver was selling about 13. Again, a big premium like now. People were very willing to pay 13 even though the paper price showed 9 or 8.90 or whatever it was close to 9.
Hey everyone, I want to thank you for tuning in to that interview today with David Morgan from the Morgan Report. We are doing a free ounce of silver giveaway, so you're actually going to get 2 ounces if you comment below the Morgan Report. So sorry that the interview actually ended in an awkward place. We ended up being done with the interview and we got into a conversation and we were talking for a little while. So I just wanted to let you guys know that I appreciate your support for the channel. And as we come up on 500 subs, if you comment below the Morgan Report, you will be entered for a free giveaway of 2 ounces of silver. So, all right. Thank you all and bye.